this is the UDES 03 Alt 3. And it is a pile of... This tank basically has nothing really going for it apart from camo and that it's a premium tank. But even then, it's so expensive that I don't see why anyone would buy it. At least not for the retail price. Because currently, there's actually two different sales going on. There's the early bird price where you got an email come through to basically say that you can get this at a discount, and that is £34. Convert that as you will into whatever currency it is for you. But then the retail value on the actual Wargaming's website for the premium store is £40. And for £40, you can get so much more for your money. But let's start out with the good things about this tank, and then we'll move on to the bad things, because there are a few good things about this tank. It does have very, very nice gun depression, although it does come at the expense of the suspension mechanic, which I'll then talk about in the bad things as well. However, some people will enjoy that. So if you are one of those people that enjoys the hydro pneumatic suspension, then yeah, sure, this is one of those tanks that has it, and maybe you'll enjoy it. But for most people that get annoyed at the constant swaying of the gun or the rocking as soon as you try and go down over a hill and then it suddenly just pings you back up for no reason, if that annoys you, this tank will annoy you. If you come across someone that doesn't have a 105 or greater than 105 caliber gun, you can maybe bounce some stuff. At the same time though, they will just go straight for your turret. So it's kind of pointless. As soon as someone learns that they can just shoot the turret on this thing and pen every time, then that goes out the window. It has very good camo. And I mean very, very good camo. At the moment we're sitting here, we only have vents. Yes, we do have a full camo crew. And yes, this is a press account with all the perks. And still, even with all the perks, this thing is not good. But even with all the perks, we are now sitting at 34% camo. And if you were going to use a spotting setup, where you have low noise, CVS and optics, then you get 43. However, if you were to do this on a char, you would end up with 48. And this is where we compare it to the char. Because honestly, this is probably the closest thing to this tank. This UDES is more of a sniper support medium tank. And it can't even really play that role correctly. The gun is incredibly frustrating to play with. There are times where this tank will work. And it will hit every single shot. And it's great. And then there's other times where the gun will just go, no. As you can see, right now, we've maxed out everything. We have 0.3 dispersion at 100 meters. And we are using the field mod to increase the DPM because the DPM is god-awful on this tank. But even if you'd done this, you would go down to 0.27. Sure, it would make it more accurate. But it doesn't really work, even with this field mod. And for the DPM cost, it's just not really worth it. And a lot of people may say, well, you're never going to notice, this DPM loss. And I would argue, you're never going to notice that this accuracy has been increased. So, we're at a stalemate, I guess. But either way, even with this DPM, you just don't even have it. It's like you have no DPM in this tank. You have 2,000, which when you get 15.5 games, and they are constant at the moment, it is a nightmare to try and get damage out of this thing. The modules on this tank feel like they are just strapped onto the outside. The engine will constantly get knocked out. I haven't got set on fire and I haven't got ammo racked. At least I don't think so. But crew members have been knocked out regularly. It takes a lot of artillery damage and my engine has regularly been knocked out. So this thing takes a lot of module damage, especially a lot from artillery. Like there's been times where I thought I'd been safe and I've still taken, like 200. And the shells landed, not even in the same postcode as me. The penetration for this vehicle is not really exceptional either. I wouldn't really class this as tier 9 penetration. I mean, I suppose you could on certain tanks. And I guess for the Swedish medium tanks, yeah, this is kind of in line with it. And it's definitely better than the UDES 16. But that's not really hard to say that this is better than the UDES 16 because the UDES 16 is awful. But you have 252 standard pen, which is fine for tier 9, to be completely honest with you. This is okay. But 284, as soon as you meet a super heavy tank, you meet a Type 5, it just laughs at you. You can't pen it unless you go around the side, unless you get a weird angle where it's flat or something like that. And God forbid that you meet a mouse, because even this will sometimes not go through the turret cheeks if you are a little bit far away. And bearing in mind, you are a sniping, mid-range sniping support tank. you are going to be at distance when you're shooting these things. And if you're up close trying to brawl, then they're just going to eat you alive. So, yeah. I played 15 games in this tank. 15 games, and I got 2,284 average damage. I was struggling so hard to try and get damage out of this tank, because even when you think that you've done a decent clip, you then reload for your 26 seconds nearly, and then you have to try and do it again. And if you miss 1 or 2 shells in a clip, and then you have to go for the reload, it just feels so punishing. It's like a G-Saw 1008, where as soon as you miss a few shells in your clip, you just lose all motivation. And when the gun just says no to you, it's even more infuriating. And this is with this thing maxed out. I mean, fine, I wasn't using Bond equipment or anything like that, but this is with a maxed out crew, so there's no excuse for the crew members, and I still was struggling to get above 3k damage. I do not understand how this gun is this bad. This tank, unfortunately, doesn't really work in the current map set of World of Tanks, because if you don't have armor, you need something to redeem it. The Leo 1, for example, it doesn't have armor, but it has an insanely good gun and very, very good DPM. This doesn't have either of those. It doesn't have an insane gun. It doesn't have a good DPM. It has awful, like catastrophic DPM is what this tank has. Sure, yes, you could use your clip and use that as your kind of redeeming feature, I guess. But then why would you do that when you could get a char? Sure, it doesn't earn you credits, but I could spend £40, less than £40 actually, on a really, really nice tank, a tier 8 premium, whenever it goes to the shop, like the Progetto, Barras, Skoda T56, whatever it might be, and then get the char from the battle pass to satisfy my need for this style of tank at tier 9, and it is just flat out better. It makes no sense to me. If the tank doesn't have armor, it needs a redeeming feature, and this tank doesn't have one. And for a sniper that isn't really accurate, or has a very, very just mind of its own gun, it's just unacceptable. And for £40, which is what I'm going to be saying it's worth, because for the vast majority of people, they would not have got the email. I mean, I didn't even get the email. Why would you spend £40 on this when you could spend £30 on a really, really good tier 8 premium? Like, I'm not even going to lie to you. I didn't even have a decent game to show you out of those 15 games. One, because the current games being 15.5, there's just nothing to show you in. I'm not going to go and show you a live game because I don't care about this tank that much. So no, in the current state of World of Tanks, with the constant 15.5 games, this tank's useless. If the current state of the maps, this tank's useless. If the maps were to change and it would promote a tank where it could go around the map, it could flank, because let's be honest, flanking is very, very dead in this game. It would maybe be decent, right? Where you can actually flank round, use your camo to your advantage, and then shoot people on the sides. But that doesn't exist in this game at the moment. So no, this tank isn't worth your money, isn't worth your time, and I'd avoid it like the plague.